Emily Parker arrived at the office every morning before the sun rose. She moved quietly through the halls, her steps soft, her smile gentle. Most people barely noticed her, except when they needed something. She was the kind of person who remembered birthdays, brought in coffee for the security guard, and always had a kind word for anyone who looked down. But in a place like this, where loud voices and big personalities ruled, Emily's quiet ways often went unseen. "Morning, Emily." Joe the janitor greeted her as she entered. His hands were rough from years of hard work, but his eyes were kind. "Good morning, Joe," Emily replied, handing him a warm muffin. "I baked extra." Joe grinned. "You're too good to us, Emily. Don't let them work you too hard today." Legazaya smiled and moved on, slipping into her small cubicle. Mark, the sales rep, leaned over the divider. "Hey, Emily, could you double-check these numbers for me? I've got a pitch with Vanessa in an hour and she'll eat me alive if there's a mistake." "Of course, Mark," Emily said, taking the papers. She worked quickly and quietly, catching 2 errors Mark had missed. "You saved me again," Mark said, almost sheepishly. "I don't know how you do it." Emily shrugged. "Just paying attention, I guess." Vanessa Reed swept into the office, her heels clicking, her voice commanding. "Team, let's keep the energy up today. I want results, not excuses." She barely glanced at Emily, who sat quietly, organizing files. Later, in the break room, Vanessa chatted with a group about the latest trends. "You've got to stand out in this world," she declared. "Nobody remembers the quiet ones." Mark laughed. "That's true. You've got to be bold, right, Emily?" Emily smiled. "Sometimes helping quietly makes a difference too." Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Maybe, but you'll never get ahead that way." Joe, overhearing, said, "The world needs both kinds of people." Emily's husband, David, was rarely mentioned at work. When asked, Emily simply said, "He's in business." No one pressed for details. They assumed he was as ordinary as she was. Throughout the day, Emily fixed the copier for the receptionist, covered the phones during lunch, and listened patiently when a coworker needed to vent. She never bragged or asked for credit. She just wanted to help. As the day ended, Emily gathered her things. Mark called out, "Thanks again, Emily. Seriously, you're a lifesaver." She smiled. "Glad I could help." Walking out, Joe said, "You make this place better, Emily. Don't let anyone tell you different." Emily nodded, her heart full. She didn't need applause. She believed that small kindnesses mattered, even if no one noticed. Sometimes the quietest people carry the greatest strength. Emily's ordinary days were building something extraordinary, even if the world hadn't seen it yet. The staff meeting was unusually tense. Vanessa stood at the front of the room, her expression serious. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice crisp. "As you know, the company is making changes to stay competitive. We're streamlining processes and, unfortunately, that means some positions will be eliminated." A hush fell over the group. Mark leaned over to Emily and whispered, "You think it'll be the new guy in accounting? He's barely been here a month." Emily shook her head gently. "I really don't know, Mark. I hope no one has to go," Vanessa continued. "We've reviewed every role. It's not just about performance, but also about energy and culture fit. We need people who bring something extra to the table." Joe frowned, glancing at Emily. He whispered, "Don't like the sound of that." Vanessa's eyes swept the room. "Emily Parker, can you stay behind after the meeting?" Emily's heart skipped. She nodded. "Of course." When the meeting ended, the others filed out quietly. Mark paused, looking uncomfortable. "Hey, Emily, I'm sure it's nothing," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Emily forced a smile. "Thanks, Mark." Vanessa closed the door. "Emily, I'll be direct. We appreciate your hard work, but we're moving in a new direction. Your approach is, well, it's a bit too ordinary for what we want now. We need more innovation, more spark." Emily blinked, struggling to process the words. "Are you saying I'm being let go?" Vanessa nodded, her tone businesslike. "It's not personal. You're just not the right culture fit anymore. We need people who stand out. Emily swallowed. I see. How long do I have? Today will be your last day. HR will handle the paperwork, Vanessa replied, not meeting her eyes. Emily gathered her things in silence. Joe came by, his face red with anger. This is wrong, Emily. You work harder than anyone here. She shook her head gently. It's all right, Joe. Sometimes things just happen. Mark hovered nearby, guilt in his eyes. Emily, I'm sorry. I didn't know they'd do this. It's okay, Mark. I hope things go well for you, Emily said softly. As she packed her desk, her mind raced. Was I really so forgettable? Did I not make a difference at all? She felt a sting of humiliation, but she refused to let it show. Instead, she took a deep breath and focused on the good she had done, even if no one else noticed. Joe squeezed her hand. You're one of the best, Emily. Don't let them tell you different. Emily smiled through the ache in her chest. Thank you, Joe. That means a lot. Mark watched from across the room, regret heavy on his face. Vanessa returned to her office, already moving on. Emily walked out with her head high. She chose not to let anger or bitterness take root in her heart. Instead, she promised herself she would keep helping others, no matter where she went. Emily's first week without work felt strange. She woke early, her hands searching for routine, but the office was no longer waiting for her. Instead of letting sadness take over, she decided to fill her days with purpose. She volunteered at the local shelter, helped her elderly neighbor with groceries, and wrote encouraging notes to friends who needed a lift. One morning at the shelter, Emily greeted a tired-looking woman who was holding a small child. Hi, I'm Emily. Can I help you with anything today? The woman hesitated, then nodded. I'm Grace. I just lost my job. I don't know what to do. Emily smiled, gently. I understand how hard that is, but you're not alone, Grace. We'll figure it out together. Grace's eyes filled with tears. Thank you. Most people just rush by. You actually listen. Emily nodded. Sometimes listening is the most important thing we can do. Back at the office, Mark was having a rough time. He stared at his computer, frustrated. I can't believe I messed up this report again, he muttered. Emily always caught my mistakes. Joe overheard and shook his head. Emily made this place better, Mark. I miss her too. Mark sighed. I never realized how much she did for all of us. She never asked for anything in return. Vanessa noticed the change as well. The office felt colder, less welcoming. She snapped at her team more than usual. Why isn't this done yet? She demanded. We're falling behind. Mark looked up. We're doing our best, Vanessa. Maybe if we worked together more, like Emily used to, things would run smoother. Vanessa frowned, but said nothing. Meanwhile, Emily's days at the shelter grew brighter. She helped Grace fill out job applications, watched her son so Grace could go to interviews, and shared quiet words of encouragement. Grace began to smile, more, her shoulders less heavy. One afternoon, Grace said, Emily, you make me believe things can get better. You don't even know me, but you care. Emily replied, Everyone deserves kindness, Grace. Sometimes that's all it takes to keep going. Word of Emily's kindness spread in small ways. Her neighbor told others about the groceries she delivered. The shelter staff noticed how people seemed lighter after talking with her. Even Joe, back at the office, started leaving notes of encouragement for co-workers, inspired by Emily's example. Mark, reflecting on his own actions, told, Joe, I used to think being loud was the only way to get noticed, but Emily showed me that quiet help matters too. Joe nodded. She changed how I see things. Maybe we all need to be a little more like her. As Grace landed a part-time job, she hugged Emily tightly. You helped me believe in myself again. Thank you. Emily smiled. You did the hard part, Grace. I just reminded you of your strength. The ripples of Emily's kindness spread further than she ever imagined. Her ordinary ways were in truth extraordinary. She touched lives not through grand gestures, but through simple, genuine care. Rumors about Emily's life after leaving the company spread quickly. Mark asked Joe, "Have you heard anything? I wonder how she's doing." Joe replied, "I heard. She's volunteering at a shelter." "That sounds like her, doesn't it?" Mark nodded. "She always put others first. I miss having her around." One afternoon, the office buzzed with surprise as a well-dressed man entered and approached Vanessa's desk. "Excuse me, I'm David Parker. I'm here to pick up some things my wife left behind." Vanessa looked up, startled. "You're Emily's husband. I'm Vanessa, the manager here. I didn't expect—" She paused, recognizing his face from a recent business magazine. "Wait, you're David Parker, the tech founder?" David nodded politely. "Yes, that's right. I'm just here for Emily's things." Vanessa's tone changed instantly. "Of course! Please let me help you. We were so sorry to see Emily go. She was a wonderful employee." David's voice was calm. Emily always spoke kindly of her co-workers. She valued helping others, even when it wasn't noticed. Mark, watching from across the room, whispered to Joe, "That's Emily's husband. He's a billionaire. I never would have guessed." Joe replied, "Just goes to show, you never really know people." Vanessa tried to recover, offering David coffee and a tour. "If you ever want to discuss business, I'd love to connect. Our company is always looking for new partnerships." David shook his head. "I'm not here for business, Vanessa. I'm here for my wife. She's always been the most important person in my life." Vanessa forced a smile, but her eyes darted nervously. "We valued her, really. She just didn't fit our new direction." David looked at her, his gaze steady. Sometimes the quietest people make the biggest difference. It's easy to overlook true value when you're only searching for what's loudest. Mark listened, feeling a pang of guilt. He remembered all the times he'd taken Emily's help for granted. "We really misjudged her, didn't we?" he said quietly to Joe. Joe nodded. "She was never ordinary. We just didn't see it." David gathered Emily's things and turned to leave. "Thank you for your time. I hope you all find what you're looking for." As he walked out, Vanessa sat back in her chair, unsettled. She realized her decision to let Emily go might have been a mistake, not just for the company, but for her own sense of judgment. Mark and Joe exchanged a look. Mark said, "I wish I'd told her how much she mattered. I wish I'd seen her for who she really was." Joe replied, "It's not too late to change how we treat people, Mark. Maybe we can start now." The office felt different after David's visit. The staff began to question their assumptions about others, especially those who seemed ordinary on the surface. Vanessa, usually so confident, found herself worrying about what her choices said about her as a leader. Emily's absence was no longer just an empty desk. It was a reminder that true worth isn't always obvious. The people who make the most difference are often the ones we least expect. David's decision to quietly purchase a controlling share in the company sent shockwaves through the office. The news spread quickly, and everyone wondered what would happen next. Vanessa called an urgent meeting, her voice shaky as she addressed the team. "We have a new majority owner. David Parker will be joining us for today's staff meeting," Mark whispered to Joe. "Do you think he's here to fire everyone?" Joe shook his head. "I think he's here to make things right." When David arrived, he greeted the staff with calm respect. "Thank you for welcoming me. I want to talk about what makes a workplace truly great. It's not just about numbers or flashy ideas. It's about how we treat each other." Vanessa tried to regain control. "We value innovation and drive here, David. That's what keeps us ahead." David replied, "Innovation matters, but so does kindness. I've seen the impact of small acts, often from people you'd least expect." He paused, then continued, "Many of you knew my wife, Emily. She never sought the spotlight, but she changed lives every day. She helped co-workers without asking for credit. She listened when others needed support. She made this office a better place." Mark looked down, regret in his eyes. I never thanked her for all she did. I just took it for granted. David nodded. It's easy to overlook quiet strength, but real leadership is about lifting others up. Vanessa spoke up, her voice uncertain. I didn't realize how much Emily meant to everyone. I made decisions based on what I thought the company needed. David met her gaze. You have a choice, Vanessa. I'm not here to punish anyone, but if you want to stay, you'll need to lead with more compassion. This company will succeed only if we treat people with respect. Vanessa hesitated, then said, I want to do better. I want to learn from my mistakes. David smiled gently. That's all anyone can ask. After the meeting, Mark found Emily outside the building. Emily, I owe you an apology. I never saw you for who you really were. You helped me more than I ever admitted. Emily replied, Thank you, Mark. I just wanted to make things a little easier for everyone. Mark nodded. You did. I want to be better too. Inside the office, small changes began to take root. Joe started organizing team lunches. Mark offered to mentor new hires. Vanessa made a point to listen to her staff, asking for their ideas and showing genuine appreciation. David quietly supported these changes, encouraging a culture where everyone's contributions were valued. Emily continued her work at the shelter, proud to see the ripple effect of her kindness. The office, once cold and competitive, became a place where people looked out for one another. The staff realized that true value wasn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it was found in the quiet, moments of care and understanding. As the weeks passed, the company's atmosphere transformed. People smiled more, helped each other, and celebrated small victories. Emily's influence, though she was no longer there every day, remained strong. The turning point had come not from revenge or power, but from the simple decision to honor kindness and dignity. The lesson was clear. Greatness often begins with the courage to be quietly good. Emily's life found a new rhythm. She split her time between the shelter and consulting for David's foundation, where her ideas for community outreach were welcomed and valued. Each day, she saw the difference a gentle word or a listening ear could make. Grace, now working at the company thanks to Emily's recommendation, often stopped by the shelter to thank her. I wouldn't be here without you, Emily, Grace said one afternoon. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Emily smiled. You did the hard work, Grace. I just reminded you of your strength. Meanwhile, at the office, changes were taking root. Vanessa struggled at first to adapt to a new way of leading. She found it difficult to let go of her old habits, but the memory of Emily's quiet example stayed with her. In a meeting, Vanessa addressed her team. I know I haven't always listened as well as I should have. I'm trying to do better. If you have ideas or concerns, my door is open. Mark, who had started volunteering at the shelter, found himself inspired by Emily's approach. One day, he told Joe, I used to think success was about being the loudest in the room, but Emily showed me that real impact comes from helping others, even when no one's watching. Joe grinned. You're right, Mark. She changed the whole place, and she didn't even try to take credit. Joe's dedication and honesty didn't go unnoticed. When the company needed a new office manager, David suggested Joe for the role. Vanessa agreed. Joe, you've always looked out for everyone. We need more of that around here. Joe was surprised. I never thought I'd be in charge, but I'll do my best to make this a place people want to come to. Grace settled into her new job, grateful for the fresh start. She often shared her story with co-workers, reminding them of the power of second chances. Emily saw past what I'd lost and helped me see what I could become, she'd say. Mark, too, found fulfillment in small acts of service. He organized food drives and encouraged others to volunteer. Emily taught me that kindness isn't weakness, he said. It's the strongest thing we can offer. Vanessa continued to learn, seeking advice from Emily and others. She found that empathy built trust and loyalty in ways her old methods never had. In a conversation with Emily, Vanessa admitted, I judged you for being quiet, but you've had a bigger impact than anyone else here. Emily replied, "Sometimes the quietest voices carry the most meaning." The workplace transformed, becoming a place where people felt valued for who they were, not just what they achieved. Emily's influence was felt in every corner, from the break room to the boardroom. Her quiet strength had sparked a ripple effect, touching lives in ways she never could have predicted. True greatness, it turned out, often came wrapped in humility. Emily's journey proved that ordinary kindness could lead to extraordinary change, and that the best leaders are those who lift others up. Months later, the atmosphere at the office had changed completely. People greeted each other with genuine warmth, and kindness had become a daily habit. Mark, now a mentor to new hires, often shared his story. "I used to think you had to be loud to matter," he told a new employee. "But Emily showed me that quiet kindness can change everything." Vanessa approached Emily during a charity event hosted at the office. "Emily, I want to thank you," Vanessa said. "You taught me that leadership isn't about being the most impressive person in the room. It's about listening, caring, and lifting others up. I'm grateful for that lesson." Emily smiled. "Thank you, Vanessa. I'm glad things are better." Here, it's wonderful to see everyone working together. David, standing nearby, watched with pride as Emily chatted with her former co-workers. Joe, now office manager, joined them. "Emily, you started something good here. We just needed someone to show us how." Grace, thriving in her new role, added, "You helped me believe in myself again. I hope I can do the same for someone else someday." Emily looked around the room, her heart full. She remembered the days when she felt invisible, when her small acts seemed to go unnoticed. Now, she saw the ripple effect of those quiet choices in every smile, every gesture of support, every act of kindness. Mark turned to Emily. "You were never ordinary. We just didn't see it. Thank you for opening our eyes." Emily replied, "Sometimes the smallest pebble creates the widest ripple. We all have the power to make a difference, even if it starts with something simple." As the event ended, Emily reflected on her journey. She realized that dignity, kindness, and humility had not only changed her life, but had transformed the world around her. So, as you listen to Emily's story, consider this. What small act of kindness can you offer today? You never know how far its ripples may reach or whose life you might change.